I have some questions that some children ask.
Yes.
The most basic would be Devin from Tri-City asks,
Yes.
what were your experiences as you traveled on the KinderTransport to England?
Oh my. Well, let me just say that one thing that affects one's memories, you forget most things. They're not the most pleasant memories you have, so you remember very, very little. I remember leaving the station in Prague. My mother was waving to me. I could see her until the train went round the bend. I do not remember anything about the journey except the incident at the border when I didn't find the key for my suitcase. And I remember one little girl on the trip. I think she was about my age, 12 and a half, and she was very bossy, and she obviously knew how to manage the kids, and she was very helpful to the good ladies who were in charge of us, because she had influence with the children that they would struggle to have. I don't remember the sea voyage at all. I remember getting food in Amsterdam. That was nice. I always remember occasions when I'm fed, but I don't remember anything else. I don't remember the sea journey. You'd think you would, because the English Channel is usually pretty rough, but I don't recall any incident. I do remember vaguely entering the station, Liverpool Street Station, in this large room where people were waiting for us. And I remember the ride to my relatives' home, because they took us through nice parts of London, you know, Trafalgar Square, Oxford Street, Piccadilly. The cousin who drove the car, he was very careful to show us the sights. So I thought that was a very nice trip. I remember the boarding school. I would say it was a bit of a dump, really. It was not a very good school. I think there were maybe 100 children there when I got there. It changed location 3 times. By the time we reached the last location, there were probably only 12 or 13 children there.
Well, I have another question from a student.
Yeah.
This is from a Trevor. Did you have any special item or anything that you carried in your suitcase with you?
Oh, yes. Oh, heavens, yes. I mean, my mother equipped me most carefully. I had a beautiful leather coat, for example, and a beautiful pencil case, and I had some books. The books I still have, but everything else disappeared. You know, when you are in a boarding school, you swap things all the time, usually to your disadvantage, of course. So all my nice things went. I have not the remotest idea where my suitcase ended up. It was a nice old-fashioned leather suitcase, and somewhere along the road I must have abandoned this. I stayed with relatives, with kind people who were persuaded to take me for the odd week during vacation. Vacations were my big problem. If you're at boarding school, there are the vacations, and you always wonder where you will go. Sometimes relatives took me, sometimes other people. Sometimes I stayed in the school and did work in the garden.
And then university started when you were 17?
Yes, I was not quite 18 when I went to university. I went to University College London, and in those days, this was the war years, this was 1944. Yes, 44. University courses lasted only 2 years. You graduated in 2 years. So by 46, I had graduated, and I got a bit of a scholarship first off, and then there was a Czech refugee trust fund which gave me a little money the first year. But after that I won scholarships, and I was self-supporting. In fact, I've never been so well off as when I was a student, I'd say. Roughly speaking, I had a university scholarship, and I felt like a king with it. No responsibilities.
You said you didn't remember too much human contact during those days.
Really?
Did you have any ongoing contact with anybody else who was a KinderTransport traveler?
None. No, not at all. Not at all. The KinderTransport people, the former Kinder, you know, Kinder is a plural for kinds, which is child. So the Kinder launched an organization in England, but I had no idea about it. Nobody contacted me. I didn't see it advertised in the newspapers. I didn't learn about KinderTransport until a daughter of mine who was, I think she was at university or already in her first job. She found out about it in the university library somewhere, and she told me, did I know? So that's when I learned about the organization and the newsletter, and I joined. No, I had no contact with Kinder at all. I always wanted to meet this girl on my journey. You know, she was such a forceful character. I thought she must have become an interesting person, but I have never managed to identify her. I do have memories of the people I stayed with during vacations when I was at school, and of course the lady who paid for my university education. We remained friends till she died. She was an interesting woman. She was the heiress of an American missionary to China. He was a scholar missionary from Harvard. His name was Hosea B. Morse, and he was married to an English woman, rather a forceful woman, and his wife told him where to leave his money, and he did with this lady, and this lady wanted to do the right thing with her money, so she took an interest in me. There was one other boy in the house when I was there. He was from a Jewish family in the East End of London, and a very clever boy. She wanted him to go to Cambridge. She was a teacher, and she was prepared to coach him for Cambridge entrance, but he declined. Somehow he felt that it would be an offense to his parents if he accepted help from her. And he went into the army, and then he went to Manchester University. So it took all kinds. Yeah.
Well, for the kids who will watch this,
yes.
Do you have any thoughts on why it might be important for them to learn about this period in history and about the happenings of the children in pre-World War II?
Well, I think it is good for children to know that there are their contemporaries who were put into a difficult situation at one stage when they were 12 years or younger, and managed. I mean, it means that they had a good deal of strength to get through the trials. But you lose your family, and that's for keeps. You really don't ever recover that part. And there are quite a few books with articles by children who came over at that time, Kinder and others, and you learn from them that they were unhappy because they were not with their family. So one thing the children could learn is to value their families. Not all do, alas, but they won't have that kind of love again for many years.